Ever feel like some places just make it easier to talk to people, like you're at a game or something and suddenly, bam, you're chatting up a total stranger like it's nothing.
Oh, totally. Like, it's way less awkward to strike up a conversation in certain settings.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, the power of context. We're looking at this YouTube video, 20 Places Where Women Approach Men by dating coach Dan Bacon.
Sounds intriguing.
Now, before you guys think this is just for the dudes out there, hang tight. Because this deep dive is really about, understanding the cues that make anyone more likely to, make the first move.
So it's about those moments when the usual, like, who approaches who kind of gets flipped on its head.
Exactly. So Bacon, he starts off saying that tons of guys they lack the confidence to approach women.
Makes sense. It can be intimidating.
But here's the thing. He argues certain situations, they actually make it way more likely for women to take the lead.
Okay, so like what kind of situations are we talking about?
Well, some of them are pretty surprising. For instance, he talks about sample girls, the ones giving out those free bites at the grocery store or mall.
Oh, yeah.
He says because of their job, they're already kind of encouraged to like chat people up. So going beyond just, hey, want to try this is almost natural.
That's interesting. It kind of puts the woman in a position of, I don't know, maybe authority. Offering something creates a low stakes way for a guy to like engage.
Totally. And then he's got singles events, which, everyone's there to meet someone, right?
Yeah, no guessing games like at a bar.
Removes the ambiguity. He also talks about dance classes, especially partner stuff like salsa or ballroom. You kind of have to interact there.
Right. You need a partner.
Yeah.
Creates natural chances for a woman to choose who she wants to dance with.
And while Bacon's mainly focused on romantic stuff, I think this applies to making friends, too. Like, you're more likely to talk to someone at, say, a pottery class or a volunteer gig. You're already into the same things.
Totally. Common ground.
Yeah.
That shared context makes it way less awkward to start a conversation.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Bacon keeps coming back to this idea that guys think women are, like, constantly getting hit on.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And because of that, guys don't even try.
Interesting. So is he saying that assumption is, like, inaccurate?
Well, it's fascinating. It could be a blind spot, Maybe guys are projecting their own anxieties and not seeing things from the woman's perspective.
Projection, yeah. Makes you wonder, are those women actually being approached as much as those guys think?
Okay, so let me throw this back to you guys listening. Think about a time you hesitated to approach someone. What was holding you back? Were you afraid of being shot down? Did you just assume they weren't interested?
Yeah, some good self-reflection there. Figuring out our own assumptions can help break down those walls and make us more open to connecting, platonic or otherwise.
Let's look at some more of Bacon's examples. He points out that flight attendants with all that travel might actually be kind of lonely and looking for connection.
Makes sense. If your job keeps you moving, it's got to be harder to build relationships.
He mentions waitresses too. Kind of like the sample girls, their job means interacting with people. Bacon even gives specific phrases to show how a simple, can I get you anything else, can become, flirty.
It's like he's breaking down these little interactions and saying, hey, look for those sparks, even in the most mundane places.
He's got hostels too. The whole vibe there is about meeting people and sharing experiences, right?
Right, you're all kind of in it together, instant camaraderie. Perfect setup for spontaneous connection.
So what we're seeing here is that environment and having shared goals can really change how people act. It's less about gender and more about being in a situation where connection makes sense.
Totally. Social dynamics are way more fluid than we think. We all react to our environment, and those reactions can surprise us.
Now, we got to talk about Bacon's take on confidence, what he calls deep masculinity being attractive. I think it's important to analyze that a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Confidence can be great, but the way it's framed here feels a little, stuck in old school stereotypes, like it's all about picking up women, not about actual genuine connection.
He even mentions his ebook, The Flow, which is all about attracting women and, getting physical.
And that brings up a really important point about dating advice in general. A lot of it, especially stuff aimed at men, can be manipulative tactics disguised as confidence. Like, the goal shouldn't be to trick someone into doing something they don't want to.
Right.
Respect and genuine interest, those are key.
So even though Bacon's targeting a specific audience, his examples do offer some cool insights into how social dynamics can change depending on where you are.
What I find really fascinating is how this goes beyond just dating. Understanding context, confidence, social cues, all of that can make any interaction better, whether it's personal or professional. So this makes me think about Bacon's idea of like flipping the script. Are there places where you feel more empowered to make the first move?
Hmm, that's a good question. I think about times when I'm feeling super confident, like at work, when I'm really into a project or at a conference surrounded by people who get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. When you're energized and in your element, it's like you naturally want to connect with others, share ideas.
Bacon actually has a few examples that are a little more, shall we say, niche.
Ooh, do tell. Always up for a little, sociological adventure.
Okay, well, he talks about strip clubs.
Whoa, okay. Interesting.
He says that strippers, yeah, they get approached all the time, but it's usually with like cheesy lines or just propositions, no real connection.
I can see that. The whole power dynamic there is pretty specific. Hard to build genuine rapport, I'd imagine.
So Bacon's saying that a guy who's like genuinely confident and doesn't treat the stripper like, a conquest, he might actually stand out.
It's an interesting thought. Challenges the assumption that strippers are only looking for, well, transactional encounters. Maybe they're open to connection too, if the circumstances are right.
Then he's got dog parks, which I thought was kind of funny.
Dog parks. Okay, I'm intrigued.
He thinks women might feel more comfortable approaching guys there because the dogs are a natural icebreaker.
Oh, that's cute. Common ground, instant conversation starter.
Makes a similar argument about men's clothing stores. He says the women working there, well, guys might not approach them as much if they think the guy is genuinely interested versus just wanting fashion advice.
It goes back to those assumptions,
Yeah.
right? Guys might assume women in those roles are always being hit on, so they hesitate, even if they're attracted.
And Bacon's point is those assumptions create opportunities for women to make the first move.
It's like a reminder that these so-called rules, they're not set in stone. You never know when the tables might turn.
Let's see, what else? He's got business networking events.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Everyone's there to, connect professionally, more of a level playing field. A woman might feel more comfortable approaching a guy there, less chance of it being misconstrued.
He's also got open mic nights. Says women might be drawn to guys who are up on stage, showing their confidence and creative side.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. The allure of talent and putting yourself out there can be very attractive, seeing someone's passions, their vulnerability.
Local charities, volunteering events, he mentions those too. People united by a cause, that shared passion could spark something.
I love that example. Working towards a common goal, that shared purpose, it creates this sense of solidarity, of being on the same team. Could easily lead to something more.
He's got a whole bunch more. Group exercise classes, hotel maids, travel groups, meetup groups, cooking classes, board game nights, even language exchange events.
Wow, that is diverse. Spans so many different interests and settings. Proof that opportunities for connection are everywhere, really.
And the thing that ties them all together, it's the context, the environment, the activity, even the unspoken social rules of the place. It all adds up to create a space where women might feel more empowered to, make the first move.
It's a fascinating look at how these social scripts can be rewritten, how gender roles can be challenged in these subtle but meaningful ways.
So what does this all mean for you listening?
Be open to the unexpected. Don't get stuck in your head about who should approach who and where. Pay attention to what's happening around you. You might be surprised by the opportunities that pop up.
Totally. Whether you're looking for love, friendship, work connections, whatever, just remember that genuine connection can happen anywhere.
It's like Bacon saying, hey, open your eyes, guys. There are chances all around you.
Yeah, and that's good advice for anyone, really. We get so hung up on, I don't know, worrying about being rejected or like trying to say the perfect thing that we miss those moments when, you could just connect naturally with someone.
You overthink it.
Totally. He's big on confidence, but as we said, there's a difference between real confidence and, well, kind of using tricks to get what you want.
Right, like manipulating someone. That's not cool.
Genuine confidence is about knowing yourself, your good and bad, respecting yourself, and respecting other people.
So how do we get that kind of confidence?
I think it starts with accepting yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, the stuff that makes you you. When you're comfortable with who you are, it shows, and that makes you more approachable.
Makes sense. Being real instead of trying to be someone you're not.
And you got to remember, rejection happens. Not everyone's going to be into you, and that's totally fine. Doesn't mean you're not awesome.
It's about finding those people who do get you, who appreciate you for you.
Exactly. And those connections, they can happen anywhere, anytime. You just got to be open to it. You never know, that random chat in line at the coffee shop, that could be the start of something amazing.
So to wrap things up, Bacon's 20 places where women approach men Sure, it's aimed at guys looking for romance, but honestly, there's a lot we can all take away from it.
It reminds us that things aren't always so black and white, who does what, where. It's about the context, paying attention to those subtle cues. Stepping outside those expected roles can lead to some really cool connections. Be present. Challenge those assumptions you have about how things should be. And most importantly, stay open. You never know where you'll find your next great conversation, a new friend, maybe even love.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone.